Uh, if I thought that the final vows was giving drama, I wasn't ready for this. Them sticking their tongue down your throat probably like a little bit delulu. Like happily go and have a bevy with a crisp and a wine. What was interesting when he was doing his hair, like because he's got a very very precise hairdo, hasn't he, Adam? And look, you know I've got a very precise hairdo too. So when I was younger, I used to have extensions because I needed them to be very precise. I needed them very precise. I had like it was a particular move. It was the spread in the middle. Because realistically, there's no benefit of it other than the person who's already ghosted you that doesn't care. You're also diminishing yourself a little bit because whatever response you get is never going to fulfill you. But let's be very, very real, right? Holly, in terms of what she's come across like on this show anyway, very much is loud. She's obnoxious, standing there all doughy-eyed and just like that woman is in love, and it's just difficult, man. Breakups are difficult, particularly if it's not a mutual thing. In fact, even if it is a mutual thing, it's still hard. And I think Amy then comes in and she does look stunning, to be fair. She looks great. She's walking in, she's talking about how like, oh, you know, I'm dreading seeing him. I'm dreading seeing him. Like, I don't want to talk to him at all. I did think at that point, I was like, nah, you are mean. You're a mean girl. He's like, no, P.S. Actually, I do have one regret. I regret that when you were cooking, I didn't get down on my knees and terrorize your. Ugh. Wagwan. Wagwan people thems. I have just watched the reunion dinner episode of Married at First Sight. And if I thought that the final vows was giving drama, I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready for this. I really wasn't. Like the amount of times that I've been sat there with my glass, I'm just like, I beg your pardon. I beg, I beg your finest pardon. It's amazing, right? Because I can only speak for me anyway, but I think part of the kind of like addiction with this show, right, is again it's human behavior, right? So it's really interesting to see how people behave in certain scenarios. It's just an array of emotions, and I think as much as people can like trash the show, and I've done the same, like probably during this season actually. As much as people can trash the show, like I think there are elements of it which are just, as I say, they're addictive because it's like you go through a range of emotions that you see in other people, and you can kind of, it's the most universal thing in the world, isn't it? Relationships, love, breakdowns of relationships, heartbreak, like, you know, all of that. The majority of us have experienced to some degree. So I think, you know, whether you want to be, you know, one of the lads and be like, nah, 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 I totally get what you're saying, da, 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 da. Or you want to be one of the girlies, you know what I mean? It's like, tell it again, Shannon. You know, I think regardless of wherever you sit, I think, I think it's, I think it's just really, really reflective of like human behavior. I think that's for me at least anyway. That's the reason why it's like so entertaining, like so entertaining. This dinner is a chance for everyone to get back together. So the experts are like, you know, we haven't seen some people, some other people haven't been in the same room again with each other since. So, you know, with the kind of build up and stuff, you've got like Sasha and Ross have got this whole thing, and she's like, you know, look, we've tried to make things work. You know, it's been really hard. Now she's putting on a necklace, and then suddenly, like Ross appears from behind her to kind of finish off tying up the necklace and stuff. So they're still together, but it does sound as though they have still had problems and stuff, like arguments. So I remember like when that was showing, I was like, they've had even more arguments. Okay. But you know, like he said, is like, look, every couple have arguments. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's just made us stronger. So it's like, okay, cool. Luke, is talking about, you know, seeing Amy and how that's going to be difficult. I think he mentioned that he wrote to her for her birthday and that he sent her a brooch and stuff. and that he's really looking forward to seeing her and how he misses her, and how, you know, the ideal scenario really would be for her to kind of just stick her tongue down his throat. He's like, but that's obviously ideal, like, so, you know, we'll see what happens. I think even from that moment, I was just like, you know, I think just his natural, like, affinity when it comes to the physical acts of love. I think they're so rampant in him that, like, even describing that, I think, you know, like, you'd be like, ah, oh, everything's gone on. Like, the ideal scenario would be that, you know, that she takes her by the hand and she's like, do you know what, like, it'd be really cool for us to kind of like talk more and hang out a bit more and stuff. And, you know, that could be from where you were, that could be an ideal scenario. Someone to stick their tongue down your throat when they've basically crucified your wedding with like a witch's brew. Them sticking their tongue down your throat is probably like a little bit delulu. But okay, I think the first couple in are Nathan and Lacey. And Nathan, I mean, they're both wearing like this kind of red, like the theme's obviously red. So she's got a red lippy on, this red sparkly dress and stuff, and her hair's all straight. Like, she looks really good. He's got like this textured blazer on and with the red dicky bow and stuff. And they look really smart together. And it's funny because I've never really thought about wearing red when it comes to either dicky bows or like dinner jackets and stuff. But like, having seen that, and obviously with the festive period coming, hmm, 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 I may rethink that. Anyway, so they're all good, and like, you know, he's complimenting her and how amazing she looks, and how he loves her, and that she's still cool and stuff. And like, the experts are just really, really gassed about how happy they are. Then Christina comes in, and she's obviously said beforehand that she's really keen to see Kieran because they've obviously not really spoken too much and stuff, and she's really keen to see him, and she just hopes that she doesn't get that kind of like stomach falling through the floor kind of moment. And again, if you've been in this position, right, where say you've broken up with someone and they're within like your friendship circle, or maybe not even within your friendship circle, but you just happen to bump into them somewhere, like, you know, I've had friends of mine, right, that have literally and they'll know who I'm talking about when they hear this, but I've had friends of mine that have messaged me to be going, I've just physically bumped into the person that they were like dating and stuff, and been met with a whole scenario with their new situation, and like, it's like, oh my god, like, oh my god, like those kind of things are really difficult to kind of navigate when you just don't know what to do with those emotions. And I think for Christina, it's so evident that, like she said, that she gave everything in this experiment to have this husband and for Kieran, and obviously it didn't work out. So I can understand why that would be difficult for her. And you know, and she's an emotional person anyway, so you know, we've got that. So yeah, so she's explaining to the rest of the guys that, you know, she's they've not really spoken. I think she said they had like a 2 hour FaceTime or something, but like, it's kind of been a bit here and a bit there. They've not really spoken. Then Emma comes in. I'm telling you something, right? Like, I think every time I've seen her, more so than anybody else. I think it was Luke previously, but you know, with the lies and stuff and a few of the things that came out today, like, as much as I like him, like, and I do still think he has got good intentions, just wrapped up in a inappropriate exterior. Emma, I just think she is incredible. I think she actually is incredible, and I think I would probably label her as the queen of the series. Like, she's just got this energy about her, and this wisdom, this wit, this ability to be self-reflective. Even though there were some things which weren't completely perfect, if I'm honest, like, there were some things that weren't completely perfect about, you know, her and Casper, and some of the part that she played. But realistically, on balance, on paper, you know, Casper didn't really treat her that well, and I think she's come out of it just being just such a, well, continued to be such a loving, open, warm person. Like, she's totally someone that like, happily go and have a bevy with, well, a glass of wine anyway, a wine and a crisp and a wine. Like, absolutely. So she's coming, she looks great, and you know, she said that her and Casper had spoken, had like a 20-minute chat and stuff after work, and she was like, you know, I ended that call and I was like, how did I manage to stay 5 weeks married to that man? Holly and Polly coming together. So yeah, they come in together arm in arm, and that's the first time that the experts realise that Holly and Adam obviously haven't made it. And they're very much like, yeah, but to be fair though, like they've had a very volatile time, so we weren't quite sure whether they were going to make it really. So they've come in and they're asking, how things been, and there's clearly been some issues in regards to. Like, I think, yeah, part of the earlier VT, Adam's talking about when he's getting ready. He's like, oh, Polly has been, making comments about him and digging him out and that kind of stuff, and he's just not responded. So he's not really looking forward to seeing her. He's in fact looking forward to seeing anyone but her. And actually, what was interesting when he was doing his hair, like, because he's got a very, very precise hairdo, hasn't he, Adam? And look, I've got a very precise hairdo too. So I very much, when I was younger, and it's very similar now actually when I'm getting my hair ready, getting my hair ready now. But like when I was younger, I used to have extensions. Well, it started with funky dread first. I had funky dread, and that was cool. And then eventually they grew longer, just on the top. You just shave the sides. Very, very 90s, very like 3T. But I used to have the extensions because I needed them to be very precise. I needed them very precise. I had like it was a particular move. It was the spread in the middle. It was the spread in the middle and the slick down the side. That was the move. So I'm not one here to be really calling out anyone for like their hair routines. But I just thought it was really funny that like even that hairstyle has got a very precise way of doing it. Like, wow. Anyway, so they're asking Polly like how are things and stuff, and she's like, yeah, we've not spoken, even though I've reached out to him multiple times and I've had no response, or the response I've had has been basically talking to me like a piece of doo doo. So I'm a bit apprehensive about how this is gonna go and stuff. Like the experts are like, why? Like, don't get me wrong. I know I've definitely done that before as well, where there's an issue with someone and you really want it resolved, or there's someone that maybe that you don't speak to, or that that your paths have kind of gone different ways and stuff. And like, I can understand why when someone has meant something to you, and particularly if your feelings have kind of gone unrequited and you haven't had that closure, and particularly like she said there, she's looking for an apology from him. Like, I can imagine that your attempts to want to reconcile to any degree like can sometimes become a little bit like addictive, because you just want that resolution. You think you're deserving of that resolution and that you want it at all costs. But it's like Paul said, like, why are you continuing to do that? And actually, from what Alfie said and what her mum has said, and what Polly's admitted to, she's always had that kind of thing where she's done so much for a guy. And I think even in this with the breakup, like, you know it shouldn't take for you to have to do that. Like, I remember there was someone that like I was speaking to, not even for that long, but I was really into this person, and they basically ghosted me, and I was really upset about it. I was really upset about it, and I remember being like, oh, I'm gonna set out exactly why I'm upset about this thing, and it's only now that I can look back on that to be like, it was so stupid that I did that, because realistically there's no benefit of it other than the person who's already ghosted you that doesn't care. Like, you might feel as though you're doing something, but actually what you're doing is you're kind of feeding into the person's ego, number one, that you care and that you're bothered, but you're also diminishing yourself a little bit, because whatever response you get is never going to fulfill you. You're never going to feel like, because what you really want, like, is for the person to wake up a bit like Christina, with Kieran. You want them to wake up and realize the amazingness that's before them, but for whatever reason they don't want you. Do you know what I mean? And that's something that you have to, like she said, is a hard pill to swallow. And I think in that regard, Polly continuing to try and message him, and he's not being, very, I guess, gracious or accommodating in any of that. Like, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So she's got that. Then and then Holly speaking to the group, and she's like, "Oh, I think Ross and Sasha have also come in at some point as well. Actually, I think I missed that out. So Ross and Sasha have come in. But everyone's looking really nice, by the way. Like, Christina's in that orange sparkly thing. She looks really cool. I thought Holly and Polly looked quite nice too. Again, I'm not a fan of Holly. from what I've seen on the show. But I do think she looks quite nice. And I thought Polly looked quite nice as well. I really like what the colour she had on, and yeah, I thought she looked really really nice. Um, Sasha and Ross, and again they looked great. I don't know. I don't know about that hairstyle. Though. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, you know, she rocked it and she owned it, and she obviously, you know, felt great with it and stuff. But there were certain angles that they were showing of that head. I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know. But I liked her dress though. I thought it looked nice in the dress. Um. So yeah, Holly's telling the group that even, or maybe Sasha, that she's spoken to Alex, or was it Christina? She's telling someone anyway that she's spoken to Alex. There is no chance of there being any kind of, you know, relationship or anything like that, but they're at least on good terms. And it's interesting that he's not come. Him and Rochelle have not been to the. They didn't come to the boy and girls night, and they didn't come to this either. So I presume that they're just done with the show. Like, and I can imagine Michelle being like that. She's like, anything to do with that bar-led man, yeah, I want nothing to do with it because I've got work to do. So I can imagine that. But anyway, so she's like, yeah, me and Alex have spoken. Then she tells the group that apparently that Hannah had said to him that about her daughter, because she's like, you know, she's been speaking about my children, and she's like, you know, she said that, you know, if like I've seen her daughter, and she's a carbon copy of her mother, God help her, or something like that. Now to me that comment is because Hannah disputes this later down the line, but that comment on its own, yeah, I think well, there's two things with it. One, speaking on anyone's children is always going to be a very, very touchy area because they're a child, and you know, parents have got, you know, such strong feelings about their parenting when it comes to their children. So there's that. Um, but where I kind of where I differentiate in terms of not speaking on it at all is I think it would depend on what it is that she's seen and why she's making the comment that she's made. Because if she'd just seen like a photograph of her daughter or something, and she's come up with this conclusion that she's like Holly. Because look, let's be very very real, right? Holly, in terms of what she's come across like on this show anyway, very much is loud. She's obnoxious, and I feel as though that she's got these like arguments that she's having that don't really have any kind of cogent tangent to them. Like they might have something that's steeped in a semblance of a point, but it kind of gets lost a little bit in this kind of like I don't know, man. I just don't rate her as a person. Like from what I've seen on this show, she's the kind of person that I absolutely would avoid. This is what I'm trying to say. So if she's seen things, and again, I don't know how old her daughter is, but if she's seen something within, I don't know, like a video or something that indicates there's similarities there, I don't think that necessarily is like an unconscionable thing to say, because ultimately the what as any parent would be like, I know I can be quite argumentative, right? So if my nephew, like my godson, for example, like if he was exhibiting signs like that, which, you know, a lot of my family think that he's very much like me, that I wouldn't want him to have that necessarily, because like you know, being argumentative isn't, it's not, nobody wants that. Do you know what I mean? Nobody wants that really. So yeah, consider the source. You're not close to Holly, so realistically, I don't really want you mentioning anything to do with me, mine, or whatever. But I think introspectively, I think if there's something that, you know, well, I don't know, because she's never gonna see it as anything bad, is she? Because it's about her. So I guess there's never gonna be a situation where she can go, well, do you know what? Actually, yeah, like that's not great. It turns out anyway, what Hannah claimed she said isn't that. But I just thought, based on what she said there, like I can understand her being offended, because ultimately Hannah doesn't rate Holly. So what she's basically saying, I don't really rate your daughter. But if you were to take that a level lower, it would be to say that it's the actions that you exhibit that I'm seeing within your child that you are raising in a very similar way. That is what I'm calling out. That's what I would hope she was. If that's what she said, that's what I hope she would be talking about, as opposed to kind of villainizing a child where you don't actually know them. But anyway, So she told the group that, and they're all mortified. Like, I can't believe she said that. Da, 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 da. So then I think, yeah, then Kieran comes in, and he hugs everybody. And you can see, like, even the experts, that's like Christina is so in love with that man. She's like, because even when she was talking about him before he walked in, they were like, she's still got feelings for him. And when he's doing the line of hugs and stuff, she's just standing there all doughy eyed and just like, that woman is in love. So then they hug it out. And so, well, he's like, he goes to put his hand out for her. He's like, Christina, nice to see you. And he's like, come here, buddy, joking, and gives her a hug. I can't remember how it started, but eventually gets to the point where she's like, how have you been? And he's like, yeah, I've been great. Just doing what I'm doing. And she's like, it's been hard. And he's like, yeah, it has been hard, hasn't it? And she's like, because it was everything. It really was everything. And I guess because he's not showing the same signs that she's showing, he's a bit like, yeah, I'm just a bit numb to it all, really. And I think she found that difficult. I think she was expecting him to also be like, this has been really hard, and maybe a bit down. And I think that's what the experts are saying when they were like, she's getting upset because she started to get teary, and he's like, are you crying? He's like, please don't cry. And I imagine it's things like that which don't help, because ultimately then because the image that person then has of you, right, is someone that is sad and upset, and I'm causing that. And those aren't nice feelings that you're not it's not like enshrining your memories with all the good times, is it? It's like, oh yeah, another instance where I've upset Christina. So I can kind of understand where his go-to would be to like, oh, I've made her upset again, like. But in Christina's defense, though, I think, yeah, in that period, and I think Charlene said the same thing. Like, he could have found something nice to say. So even though he's feeling numb about it, and he doesn't talk about, things. It might be things going on in his head, but he's just not talking about it. I think seeing that she is quite emotional and was quite emotionally invested, that it would help to kind of just give her something. Do you know what I mean? To be like, I don't know, just something, because she ends up walking away. Like, she ends to get so frustrated, she ends up walking away. The girls go after her and stuff, and she's like, he just said he's numb. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's numb. So obviously, he's just forgotten the time that we spent together, and it makes me feel as though that, like, was he ever really in it? Was he ever really into me ever? I've got my feelings about that already, which I've said in other videos. That, like, I feel as though that, like, that part of it was done. I don't know what it was, but like, he went off her. He went off her, but he does go out and try and bring her back and calm her down and stuff. And I guess his point is, you're wanting comfort and support from the person that's your ex-husband, and there is a point there. It's like, well, I can only provide you so much, and it's just difficult, man. Breakups are difficult, particularly if it's not a mutual thing. In fact, even if it is a mutual thing, it's still hard. Um, and again, having been there myself, where you've been broken up with and you weren't ready for it, like, you want that kind of interaction with that person that you're used to talking to every day and seeing them every day, and when it doesn't come, you get resentful, like. And then but then you get resentful of things that you shouldn't even be resentful of, because realistically you're not together anymore. So actually, this person is not obligated to speak to you all the time, or and even like trying to navigate a friendship from where you were close, or where someone might even still have feelings for you. I just think it's a really precarious journey. Do you know what I mean? And if you can make it there, brilliant. But I think for a lot of people, it's really difficult to kind of switch that connection. So yeah, that was hard to watch. Then the rest of them come in. Luke comes in, and he's telling people about how it was with Amy, and and again, it's just a surprise for the experts, because that's when they realize that they're not together. And he's like, yeah, it's going to be hard to see her. And I think, I can't remember who asked the question, but they're like, the last time I saw you, you said that things were good, so how have you ended up on your own? And he was like, yeah, I guess things happened and things changed. Do you know what I mean? But and then he's telling them about her birthday and the fact that he sent her a brooch in the post, and that he said to her, like, look, if you wear the brooch, it's like a turtle to remind them of their holiday, and because she likes turtles. He's like, if you wear the brooch, then at least I know that, like, the door's ajar at least. And he's like, so he's hoping that that's going to be the case. So the experts are like, bless him for being hopeful. And Mel's like, or just delusional. I guess we'll see. And then we do see, and then I think Amy then comes in, and she does look stunning. To be fair, she looks great. Um, but there is no brooch in sight. And actually, what's interesting is she's walking in, she's talking about how like, oh, I'm dreading seeing him. I'm dreading seeing him. Like, I don't want to talk to him at all. And I'm not wearing the brooch. Like, I don't know why he sent me that. Like, I thought my feelings perfectly clear. I couldn't have been any clearer at final vows. So I don't even want to talk to him. And I did think at that point, I was like, nah, you are mean. You're a mean girl. Like this guy, like, is clearly like in the feels for you. And yeah, okay, fair enough. It might be that, like, you have made it clear in those vows that you weren't interested in any further. He's still just shooting his shot, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? It's not because he's been trying to be disrespectful. He just cares about you. And I thought that was really mean. And then, like, when she was talking about it with, like, the girls and stuff, it came across as like that, just like, I'm just. But then when she started talking about the letter, and because he didn't mention there was a letter, and how he was saying that, like, he misses like, he misses her and that kind of stuff, and then you got the girls being like, yeah, well, he would, wouldn't he would miss you. And it's like, well, you don't need to add no further seasoning to this, man. Let the man miss the woman that he was married to. There's nothing wrong with that. um but then he put a little, and then he told about the brooch thing, and then she's like, I wouldn't be wearing a turtle brooch with this anyway. He's like, P.S. No regrets, no regrets. Keep slaying or something. And then he's like, no, P.S. Actually, I do have one regret. I regret that when you were cooking, I didn't get down on my knees and terrorize your butthole. Now, sir, you know good and well, you know good and well, yeah, that these are not the type of words to put together in any sentence to Amy. You said that you felt uncomfortable, yeah, even like going to put your arm around her, and yet you think that she wants to get some posted correspondence from the man that she said it's done, it's dead, it's deceased, R.I.P. You think this lady wants to hear about you on your knees terrorizing her? Like, the response from everybody was just like, what? The experts like, Luke, oh Luke, no, Charlie, no, that's inappropriate. Yeah, that's inappropriate. I'm just like, why would you say that, dude? Why would you say that? And like Mel said, she's just like, it just goes to show again that you're just not listening to her. She doesn't want none of that. Be a gentleman, like, just leave the brooch and let the brooch be, and or maybe even just be like, this is the brooch, like, just enjoy the brooch, and have a happy birthday, and show up in ways that aren't asking anything of her. Do you know what I mean? Because you know maybe being friends with her and gaining her respect again in that way might be something that goes, or actually, it's always been you. I don't know, man, like, but that has got to be the worst way in history of trying to get back with someone that has already ended it with you because of your lies, deception, and vulgarity, dude. So yeah, she's kind of fuming about that, really. Orson comes in with Adam, their arm in arm, and again, I guess it's an indication of how close they are. And again, they both look very smart, and it does appear like Polly's getting all kind of flustered because Adam's walking through the door, and but to be fair to him, he does say hello to her. Like, it is a very, all right, and everyone else gets a more enamored hello. And it's kind of the same with when and Amy walked in with Luke. Actually, like, Luke was really like keen to see her and stuff, and but yeah, her hello was a little bit frosty. Adam doesn't waste too much time telling everyone about how things have been with Polly. So he's heard in the grapevine that Polly has basically been like posting like these subliminals, and and listen, I don't know whether she actually did this or not, right? But like, when people do that kind of stuff, yeah, the kind of some people some people, and it's like, what are you talking about? This name and shame, because this looks pathetic. Yeah, I hate that. But the other thing is as well, like, there is something that says, actually, how self-centered have you got to be to think that it is about you? Because to be fair, It's like Janet Jackson says, I bet you think this song is about you, don't you, don't you, don't you? Ha ha hoo hoo, thought you get the money too. Greedy, 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 try to have the cake and eat it. What tune? I absolutely love that tune. So it's like, yeah, she could have been doing that, but maybe she wasn't as well. But he's like, yeah, she, putting stuff up there about narcissists and exes and stuff, blatantly aimed at me, and that she's been digging him out in like the chat groups and stuff. And like the experts like, oh, this tends to happen after the show, that the participants like end up formulating these bonds, they get into these chat groups, and then like further discourse happens within these groups. So she's like, and like, I haven't been. It's like I've had to block her. Like she doesn't know I blocked her, but I blocked her, because I'm not putting up with that. Like digging me out and trying to mug me off and stuff. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just over it. Like I'm just so over it. It's done. So he's again come in with quite a lot of vim for her, and listen. If what he's saying is true, it's very childish. Like that someone is trying to get your attention by sending subliminal, digging you out in group chats and stuff. Like it is very much just like it's given bitter. It's given very very bitter. But I feel she is bitter. Right? I think she's got a lot of reason to be bitter. And but him accepting or acknowledging her frustrations and upset would mean that he has to acknowledge the part he's played in doing and being part of that, which I don't think he's prepared to do, because I think he sees himself as this, this benevolent, kind, generous person that I've run your baths, I've slept with you 3 times. You know what I mean? Like I've tried to buy lingerie. He's kind of lording it up that way and bragging about that. Casper comes in with Charlie, which is really cute again. And I think the experts even said like it's really nice because ultimately like no one had really, the kind of, she felt judged the last time that she was there, so it's nice that that's kind of turned around and stuff. We don't see any Eve, so Eve was not there for the girls' night. She has not returned for this either, so that was interesting to see. Shannon comes in. I think Shannon comes in probably before some of the ones I've already said actually, but she comes in again, looks all nice. They're asking her if she's spoken to Ryan. She's like, of course not, like absolutely not. But to Hannah, and she's like, are you joking? She's like, yeah, me and Hannah are besties. No. But I thought it was interesting though. Mel was like, Shannon obviously needed to leave quite abruptly, so it's good to see that she's that she's here and she's happy. So again, it goes to show that it was her decision to leave. When I spoke about it before, it was like they'd come to the decision that they were both going to leave, but it sounds like that she very much was wanting to leave. So again, I think we get a little bit of an insight in tomorrow's episode as to what that all was about. But one of the next people to come in is Hannah, and she's been speaking about how I've been getting close to someone outside the experiment, and we've decided to come in together. It works for us. It's actually going to be nice for me to walk in, knowing full well that I'm walking into a lion's den, as it's been with every time I've walked in with these girls. It's going to be nice to know that someone's in my corner. So part of me thought that maybe it was Alex because it kept like shooting shots to Holly and stuff. But it turns out that it is Ryan, so it was right in what I thought. And people are like, oh my god, oh my god. And again, Holly, she's like, ugh, it's giving Carvery. It's giving Carvery. Do you know what I mean? Which meat do you want? All of them. And I just thought, like, mate, you're digging her out, right? And look, it doesn't look great when you walk in like that. But in their defense, they weren't arm in arm, they weren't hand in hand, they were just walked in together. So even the expert said that, like, it'd be interesting to know what kind of connection this is. Everyone's like, oh my god, and Kieran's calls it out. He's like, what is going on here? He's like, I'm gonna call out the elephant in the room. And Hannah's just like, there is nothing going on. We're just friends. We're just friends. And again, the girls are kind of rolling their eyes and just being, and Shannon's like, did you expect anything less? I mean, we've had this before, anything less. When Hannah is explaining that there's nothing going on, is that this person also agreed that the last time I came here, I was absolutely set upon, like, and I was verbally attacked, like, so. And then Holly's like, are you aiming at me, babe? And Hannah's like, well, you and a few others, yeah. And she's like, I just don't know why she's coming here, like, already starting stuff and aiming things at me. I think it's embarrassing. And this is what I mean when I say, yeah, that, like, someone like Holly is just obnoxious and is full of her own self-importance and he's taking a lot of pleasure and smugness from the fact that she's got this harem of girls around her for her support. Yeah, okay, granted, you've got issue when it comes to what you think Hannah said to you, but you had issue with her from before then anyway. And I still think if even if what she said, even if what you said she did actually say, it's more to do with your behavior than it is to do with your daughters. It's more to do with you, and ultimately the it's a bit like if I saw, I don't know, some rampant bigot that was shouting all these racial slurs. It's a bit like when we had the riots and whatever, and there was that mom that brought her kids to the riots and stuff. So you got all these people that are chanting all these like anti, just lots of anti-Muslim and there's lots of racist stuff, right? And then you brought your kid to this rally, so now the kid is around all of this stuff and likely saying the same kind of things, like, as much as I don't rate that from anybody, because anybody should really have common sense to not say things that are just so hurtful to another human being. And I don't think you need to be of a certain age to understand that, really. Like, you know, past the age of like, I don't know, 10 or something, but even less than that, like, you should know to be kind to people. But even if you take away the child's agency in that particular moment, like, what you're referring to are the child's actions, and the actions are coming from the parent. So, you know, I don't think that should be above reproach at all, really. If how you exhibit and behave is not great behavior, and you're hiding behind the fact that you're keeping it real, I think you need to be aware of yourself. You've just said that she's like a carvery with all the meats. Now, is that a muggy comment, or is that uplifting someone? Right, I say it's probably pretty muggy in it, so you can't complain and say that she's just coming in and digging you out. You've just been digging her out as well. Like, anyway, so Ryan goes and talks to the boys, and they're like, you know, you're not gonna go and speak to Shannon, and he's like, nope. And he's like, you know, and Kieran's trying to say to him like, yeah, but you were married. He's like, no, I've got nothing to say. He's like, you know, it's all cool. Sometimes distance is the best, but it's like, well, to me, that's just manners. So it's showing that if you're bothered enough, I know somebody might say, oh, actually, like, if you're completely unbothered, then you might not even say hello, but I don't buy that. I think you come across as being completely unbothered if you're able to just say hello. Cause it doesn't take anything away from you from being polite to someone that you know, really cared for, and now you can't even bring yourself to say hello to one, and we're like, what on earth happened? You know, so yeah, it is giving a little bit like, what's going on there. Then Hannah ends up going to talk to Orson, and you know, she's being all flirty, but he's being flirty, to be fair, and you know, he's kind of like, you know, saying how good she looks and stuff, and she's got this outfit on where like her stomach's out, and she does put on like a little like bam, 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 like, and it's clearly, as much as it's for Orson's benefit, it's definitely for the girl's benefit as well. And I can imagine that, like, you know, she's a skinny mini, and you know that there's probably elements of that because she's like, her abs are popping and stuff, and it's like, yeah, she knows what she's doing here. She knows what she's doing here, and I think the girls obviously clocked it as well. So the experts are like, look, you know, I do feel sorry for Hannah and how she's been, you know, been made to feel like a bit of an outsider, but she definitely knows how to ruffle some feathers, her and Ryan. Then I think Stephen comes in, and then you see what looks like, I don't know, army dads that come home, and then the kids are like, oh my god, daddy! Like, Stephen comes in, and then you've got like Holly, more than anybody else. It's like, oh my god, Stephen, my baby, my baby. And she runs up and she squeezes him, and she's like, oh my god, like, and it's loud. And Hannah's just like, what's this? When did they become such big friends? And she's like, you know, it's just the double standard. She's like, you know, I can't be friends with Ryan, right? But you can go and be friends, but Stephen can be friends with anybody he wants to, and everyone's just like, that's absolutely fine. You know, it's just crazy. But even the experts are just like, Holly knows what she's doing. She's trying to get under Hannah's skin, and it looks like she's working. I think everyone's there now. Oh, and just before that, I think Polly hears Adam talking about the fact that about the whole social media thing and him posting stuff and whatever. So she's like, how does he know that I'm even talking about him? And then Austin's like, but have you dated anyone since the experiment? She's like, what's no one's business really. He's like, at the end of the day, she's like, I can post whatever I want. If he feels though it's something relates to him, well, the cap must fit then, innit? Do you know what I mean? She's like, at the end of the day, like he's got no indication of whether it's about him or not. So then they all get seated, and they have put them all in their couples, which I thought was very interesting, considering that some people have not spoken. Also, point of note, before they sat down, actually, when Casper comes in, he says to Emma that he's still wearing his wedding ring, so he's got his wedding ring around his neck, and he was like, it meant something to me, do you know what I mean? And I keep it close, and they have like a little moment about that and stuff, which is really cute. And I just thought that was interesting because he's trying to show, like the expert said, he's trying to show her that there's care there for her and what they had. And I think that's probably what Christina well, apart from just wanting to be with Kieran, I think that's probably what she could have done with that. There was some indication to her that that time was important. But I suppose you've got to be careful because uh, that could also be seen as a green light that there's like a Luke to be like, oh, the door is ajar. It's not ajar. So everyone's kind of mingling and talking. Sasha and Ross are all kissy, kissy, kissy. Same with Nathan and Lacey. Luke was like, I thought Charlie was Casper's sister. When they walked in. Oh, that was funny. Stephen's trying to talk to Shannon. He's like, how's Glasgow? And she's like, it's Glasgow. All right, okay. So that conversation's dead. This is dead. Great, no problem. No problem at all. He does also speak to Hannah, which I thought was big of him. I mean, there wasn't much conversation. Just like, how are you? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Yourself? Yeah, not too bad. Good, good, good. Kind of where the conversation ended, really. But I don't really have much to rate him on, to be fair. So I will agree with the experts and rate him for at least speaking to her. And I also will rate as well that the boys were definitely coming with the colours today. Stephen in the blue, Casper in the orange. You had the Adam and Orson in the kind of beigey kind of colours, get beigey kind of pastel colours, and Nathan in the red. Like there was just lots of velvet, lots of crushed velvet looking stuff. I thought it was quite cool. I've never ever thought about wearing an orange jacket. I don't think it's for me, but it's giving me something to think about. So Luke is speaking to Amy because he's trying to get some conversation out of her. He's asking about her birthday, and she's like, "Yeah, we went for dinner and we went for brunch and for dinner and stuff, or went for drinks and dinner, something like that." And he's like, "You okay? You seem a bit." And she's like, "I just, I thought I was really clear at vows about how I felt and stuff, and how everything was pretty much done for me, with all of the lies and that kind of stuff. Like there was just no moving forward. So you sent me this brooch and stuff, and as you can see, I'm not wearing it. Like, but the fact that you've told everybody about this brooch and stuff, and it's like, oh, you take it the wrong way. I just wanted to express like my hope and stuff. And she's like, yeah, but you've told everyone about it. And it just makes me come across like that I wasn't clear. And she's like, and I did really feel sorry for him because he's clearly still trying to be like, oh, she's like, but in no uncertain terms, like absolutely not. And I think that's where it kind of started to sink in for him that it really was done. So yeah, I did kind of feel sorry for him in that moment. But again, but she didn't mention the end part of that letter, which I thought she would have said. But it seems very clear that that is done, and I think he now realizes that's done. Then Emma asks Polly and Adam, and whether or not like they're okay, and it just starts off this whole childish. Because again, she's like, "Well, I'm alright." It's like I've already sent messages about to say that, to be honest. Like, but I haven't sent anything back, so it doesn't take long basically for him to bring up the fact that she's been digging him out on social media. He's like, you've been your Instagram posts about me, talking about me on social media. You've been screenshotting my, because that was the other thing he accused her of, that she was screenshotting his social media and then sending it on to other girls and stuff. Now look, I know that like, you know, this can't be the first time that somebody's done something like that, where they've screenshotted something to send to their friends to have a laugh. Like, I've definitely done that. I've definitely had it like sent to me. Like, I'm sure we've all within our own friendship groups have had elements of that. What you never want though is for that to go back to the person, because then you look very shallow and very, very juvenile. So I think she just needs to own that, really. And I think he's got a point with that. I think they end up moving. I think he ends up moving chairs or something, because at one point he's sat opposite her. I think it's because the conversation when they were sat next to each other was getting out of hand again, and people were like, "Come on, guys, like let's not do this, let's not do this." But like they're arguing about it again. Obviously, she's still waiting for an apology. Anyway, I can't remember exactly what happens, but at some point or another, they are across the way from each other, and oh, that's it. Because yeah, because he moves. That's it. He moves, and then she's looking at Amy, I think, or someone, and he was like, "What are you looking at?" And she's like, "I'm looking at my friend." He's like, "Well, why?" He's like, "Because I want to." Like, what do you mean? Like, because I want to. And then it escalates even further, and he's like, end of the day, like, why are you bitching about someone that doesn't want you? And it's like you can see that he, like, because Polly's voice is quite loud, but you can see that he's saying this for everyone to hear, right? And then she's just like, because I want to and I can. That's why. Like, what other reason do I need? And he's just like, no, we slept together 3 times in 10 weeks. Yeah, I obviously didn't want you. Like, and she's like, it's like we slept together more than that. She's like, no, it was 3 times in 10 weeks. And then he's like, he sat down there like moaning like a child. Why won't he? Well, I want you to say what you said. Why won't he thank me? And she's like, sitting there like a child, whining, begging for it, basically. And I think that's the thing that tips her over the edge. She like gets up and dashes her wine all over him, and it's dripping. Like, bearing in mind he's in this pastel suit, which she earlier did say that she liked. He's dripping in this red wine. And then she turns around and she's like, you are a good for nothing, low down sea biscuit. And walks out. And everyone's response is like, what? Even the experts just like, you've crossed the line there. You've crossed the line. And I remember there were a few people that obviously were in like the splashback region as well. Because I would have been absolutely vexed. They were like, why? That, a bit like Nene. I mean, now why am I in it? You know what I mean? I got red wine all over me. So yeah, like that wasn't cool. She's fuming about it outside. And I think Mel like, nailed it really, where she's like, look, it's quite clear, yeah, that this is an accumulation. This is not just about tonight. But obviously, what he said was below the belt. Like, it really was. You know, but I think he pushed that button because he knows when he cussed off Alex for going to Polly about the whole rejection thing. He's done the exact same thing. But he's done that because he thinks that she's been ridiculing him. So if anything, he hasn't bitten back. Like he said in around the table, he's like, you kept coming for me, and I've not bitten back at you once. When it was becoming really uncomfortable, like, because at one point when Polly, when she was trying to justify how many times they slept together and stuff, like she's talking about her period cycle and how she tracks it and stuff and this and the other. And then the next thing, he's basically that she's begging it from him or whatever. Then she dashes the wine. Then she's outside, and then she's telling the girls, actually, we still slept together. Like, all of this is just like, it's information that we just didn't need. And actually, what would have been better is if you had been able to just apologize to each other for the parts that you played in upsetting each other. Like, at what point? Because remember, they've been saying this whole time that they were solid and they were great friends and it's been so easy. Why is it so hard for you then to apologize to each other for upsetting each other? And be able to walk from this and just be wholesome, happy human individuals that can just be in each other's company and not be so toxic and mean. Anyway, she eventually comes back in and she does apologize, actually, which I thought was big of her. He still sat down there with this smug look on his face and he's just like, oh, I'm not even bothered, really. And there's no apology to her about what he said or about anything. And again, I just think it's really indicative of him. Like, as you know already, I'm no big fan of Polly, particularly because she's so close with Holly. But I think in that moment, yeah, she wasn't right to do what she did, and it's inexcusable for you to act in such an aggressive way. But she didn't get there on her own. Like he also went below the belt, and I think like it's like Holly said. I think that the two of you need to knock it on the head now. But I thought was really ironic that she said that, considering that she literally looked like she was then gearing up to then have her round with Hannah, and then Hannah's like, "Oh, do you want to have a conversation, Holly?" And she's like, takes ages to respond, and then she's like, "Look, I just feel like there's been something on my mind that I need to bring up with you, like, and it's basically about my daughter and the fact that you said this thing." And Hannah's like, "I don't remember saying that." And she's like, "Look, end of the day, she's just like, you're not gonna get anywhere with me talking about my kids. Don't effing do it. Don't talk about my kids." And she's like, "What I think I actually said was that the way in which that you guys went for me and came for me the other day, would you be happy if that happened to your daughter?" And she was just like, don't come for me, yeah, and make out that I'm a bad mother, right? Because I've come to tell you about yourself. You've brought this on yourself. And she's like, you treated me like a piece of doo doo. And she's like, yeah, because you deserved it. And she's just like, what are you even talking about? And then out of nowhere, Lacey then pipes up and she's like, you've come in here. And she's like, yeah, I've been talking to Ryan, all smug. And she's just like, I didn't, that's not how I said it at all. And I think and look, it might be that I'm just in the utter Hannah defense league here, but I think her coming in with Ryan, I think again is very indicative of what she said, that her and Ryan have become quite good friends and stuff. And that in itself I don't think is a problem. I really don't. Like, bearing in mind that she has got no friends there, really, that I think it's absolutely fine for her to come to, we talk. It'd be worse if you are talking to this person, you're friends with them, and you're gonna like pretend that you've not been speaking, like you've owned it. So for later to be like, oh yeah, she was smug about it, I was just like, I didn't see that. I didn't see that she was smug at all. So then obviously Hannah's just like, oh f off Lacey. Like, I don't know if she's trying to say like you're two faced or something. I don't know. I didn't quite understand why she got such an aggressive f off there. Don't understand that. Again, everyone's coming for me. Everyone's screaming at me. Well, the argument just escalates further. It ends up calling her an effing little b. An effing little disrespectful b is what she calls her. And Hannah's just stood there looking just like they're both fuming. So Holly's fuming, Hannah's fuming. Amy and Ryan have gone outside to Hannah. She's just like, she's a tramp. She's such a tramp. And Holly's just like, can you see that she came for me there? Like, what is wrong with me sticking up for myself and then telling her about herself? She's like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not taking it. I'm not putting up with that. And I just like, I hate when people trying to get like the confirmation from everybody else in the room. It's like, if you're confident about how you behaved, you don't need the confirmation of everybody. But we've watched that back, and from my perspective, I, like, people hide behind this whole thing about don't you talk about my kids, but it's like she's not really talking about your kid. She's talking about you and your behavior. So I just think it becomes this blanket thing about like, I'm not like, it almost becomes like the emotional like get out of jail card is that that I have the right to like react in this ridiculously overt way because you've mentioned my children. And it's like, well, um again, break down what it is about your kids that they've actually spoken about would be my thing. But anyway, experts are like, oh, this could have been a really good opportunity for both of them to kind of just put a line under it and stuff. But instead, they've just been this dramatized theatrical version of what it could have been and should have been. Before the honesty box comes out, Kieran and Christina are talking to like Emma and a few other people. That's it, Casper, and Casper's talking about if he's dated anybody, and he's like, oh, I've been on a couple of dates, but nothing really. And then someone's like, oh, is it because they're not Emma? And Emma's just like, well, no one's Emma, darling, no one's Emma, which is really funny. They turn to Kieran and Christina, and they're like, have you guys dated at all? And just the pause alone is enough to know that Kieran clearly has been dating. And Christina's like, no, it's fine, you can answer. Don't worry about me, you can answer. And even the experts are like, oh, Kieran, don't do it. Kieran, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he's just like, yeah, I was dating this girl for about 3 weeks and stuff, and but it didn't. It's not continued. Cause I didn't have the time for her and stuff. So, we didn't continue, and that obviously upsets Christina. She tries to hide it, like you can see that like the actual faces she's making as she's trying to hide it, but she clearly can't hide it, and she's just like, yeah, it's not nice to hear, is it? It's not nice to hear. It's a bit crap, really. And he's again, it's a difficult one because you don't want to lie. Um, but it's like Paul said, it's like, with transparency and truth, everybody wants it, but there is a time for transparency and truth, and that most definitely was just not the time. She didn't need to know that. It wasn't something she needed to hear. So she's already upset about that. Anyway, then the honesty box comes out, and to be fair, there were some really good questions, and I think there's some really interesting answers. So Sasha's question, I always forget the questions, man, because there's just so many of them. What's the biggest challenge in our relationship and stuff? So obviously before it was the location, but obviously he's moved in. He's in Warsaw. He's living there. But she was like, I think it's still our communication, and obviously when there's our arguments and stuff, you end up going back to Manchester, and then I don't hear from you, and I have to keep messaging other people to find out like what's going on. And at first, I thought it was really funny because then Emma does an impression of Sasha. I can't remember what she said. And in fact, actually, there were a couple of things that Sasha said in this episode that made me go, "Boy, you're brody." When she was like, when she's like, "I didn't expect him to come and move in so quickly." She's like, "I expect him to come in and move in so quick." He's like, but then he's come with his bags and he's there. It's just so broad. But then Emma does an impression of that, and she nailed it. To be fair, it was such a good impression. And then the experts are like, "Oh, clearly that's still not very healthy. That they are not dealing with conflict properly." Then she asks Ross, am I your forever person? And then he explains again, it's all the reasons why she is his forever person and stuff, which is really sweet. Amy's question is like, what do you think is the reason for the breakdown of our marriage? And Luke owns it, which I think he's owned it the whole time, to be fair. He's just like, I think we didn't really understand each other from the beginning. And then with my lies and dishonesty, I really harmed our trust like quite badly. But then I think that coupled with the fact that we misunderstood each other, I think those are the reasons why. And then Amy thanked him for owning it, which I thought was really nice. And then he asked her, I can't remember what he asked her, but I just know that it ended quite nicely. I remember thinking, oh, that was nice. And I think Holly even said, guys, that was nice. That was really nice. Nice. Then I think it goes to Orson. As you are absent your wife here, if anyone else could have walked down the aisle, who would it have been? Who would you have had? And he said Emma, which like she absolutely loved that, and everyone else loved it as well. I can't remember whether Hannah and Stephen had a question. Ryan and Shannon had questions, and his question to her was, "What have you learned for your next relationship or something?" And she was like, "Well, I've learned not to take rubbish from anybody that I don't deserve, and I've learned that I'm a bad bee." So, which again was kind of like dismissive of him in a way, which didn't surprise me that when her question to him was, "Is there anything that you wish you could have said to me before we left?" And he was like, "Absolutely nothing." And the way he said it, and everyone was like, "No, come on, Ryan, man! Like it's just like, no, absolutely nothing." And the experts are like, he clearly is still hurting, but he's not wanting to share anything. So I thought that was a, well, it's on this A standpoint, I suppose. Emma and Caspar, she asks him, is there anything he regrets about the marriage? And he's like, "Oh, I regret waiting one more week to leave." But when he explains it, I kind of understood what he meant. Like, it was like, those last few days of that week we were texting with each other. We were the worst we've ever been. Like, whereas previously we had one of the best weeks, and I wish we'd kind of left on a high instead of leaving on such a negative one. And she was like, "Well, I wish that your biggest regret wasn't that you left a week earlier, and that maybe, you'd given me a chance from week one, or maybe even day one, because you kind of wrote me off, really." And I thought that was a really fair comment to make. And then his one was, "Rate me rate me as a husband from 1 to 10, and give you reasons why. And it was just the build up of it was funnier probably than even the mark. But she gave him a 4, because she's like, you were a terrible husband, really, but then I wasn't really a great wife either. And they cheersed it out. I thought that was really cool. Nathan and Lacey was like, what does the future hold for? No, his question to her was, what does the future hold for us? And she was like, little Nathan juniors and stuff. And he was like, all right, baby steps. We need baby steps for that. But that was quite cute. And then Adam and Polly, and yeah, her question to him was, were you ever into me? And again, even as he's giving his answers, I find him to be quite immature, if I'm honest. I find the way that he responds to things and the way that he speaks, I find quite immature. Like, I'd expect those kind of responses from like a petulant kind of like 18-year-old kid. Do you know what I mean? But even the way, like, so when she asked him that question, he was like, well, yeah, first, I wasn't into it. And then, kind of started seeing some things that were like, okay, some kind of connections there. Then there were just lots of things that I wasn't feeling, which I told you about. And yeah, it was just really flippant, like, and I guess, look, the wine is still soaking into his jacket, so he's obviously still going to be bitter. But I just thought, okay. Then he asked her, what do you feel about me now? And she was like, look, I'm not going to lie, in this moment, she's like, I feel hurt. I feel resentful. Like, I feel that, I'm really sad that we're in the position that we're in. I didn't think that we ever would be in this position, right? But yeah, right in this particular moment, like, I'm just feel angry and upset and hurt. Which I thought was a really like the experts thought was a really good way to, at least she expressed herself on how she felt, which is good. Um, then yeah, Christina and Kieran, that was a hard watch, man. So his question to her was, how do you see us moving on? And she was just like, I guess, reliving what this has meant to her and how difficult it's been, and then hearing the fact that he's already been dating and stuff. It's like, it's just a kick to the teeth. So she's like, I don't know. It's like, I just feel like the whole experiment has been a waste. All of it's just been a waste of time and a waste. And she's crying and getting upset and stuff. So she's like, for me, moving forward, it would either be that you treat me as a friend, an actual friend, or we just don't have any contact and you are just a memory. And Emma again with the pearly words of wisdom pipes up, and she's like, look, you've got to see that there are lots of people around this table, yeah, that have also not had things work out for them. And you have made some great connections, might not be with in a romantic way in that sense, but you have made some great connections, and you shouldn't see anything as a waste of time at all. And again, there were really wise words, and I think it helped, because then Kieran was like, I don't see this as a waste, and I'm so glad that I've met you. Like, you are one of the nicest girls I've ever met, and I know that I've got a friend for life in you. And again, they kind of hug it out and stuff, and that, yeah, just another emotional moment, man. Another emotional moment, which I thought was really, really, really sweet. Um, so then, yeah, so I think that's everything. Like, boy, I've been talking for like an hour and 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm not. I didn't realize there was like another episode. So tomorrow we've got, I guess, their final. It's not a commitment ceremony, I guess, but it's like their final meet down with the experts to kind of go over I guess, the whole season, and I guess give them like one final chance to say things to each other. And it looks as though for the couples that are going well, so Sasha and Ross and Nathan and Lacey, like, it looks like it's really good stuff. But for everyone else, it looks as though that there's just problems, man. Hannah, Holly, Polly, Adam. So yeah, be very interested to kind of see how that goes tomorrow. But yeah, another just absolutely crazy episode. There's just so much stuff from everywhere happening. Oh God, I'm tired even just talking about it. I'm tired even talking about it. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get these edited so they're up for tomorrow. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this if you have been watching this with me. And I guess we buckle in tomorrow for the final one. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on that final one.